I'd like to introduce the folks up here on the stage with me. Um, this is Conti Monroe. He's the senior senior product manager at ConnectDER, and he'll talk more about what ConnectDER is and how it's part of our open ecosystem in a second. And I have Mitch Simmons here, and Mitch is the technical product manager at Eaton, and he'll be talking about the Eaton AbleEdge smart breakers today. So I'm Chris Fox, and I'm a product manager here at Franklin, and I've been working on this exciting new area of the Franklin world, which is the open ecosystem. And at FranklinWH, we value the expertise of our partners, our two important integration partners here on the stage. And the open ecosystem approach is over here on this wall. You can come and talk to me later, but essentially in this time of important cost reductions that installers really need to capture in the field, and the kind of the release and the specifications of our aPower 2 and our new aPower S battery system, we can enable whole home backup using a single battery and using the ConnectDER Islander meter socket adapter MID and the Eaton smart breakers. An installer can do whole home backup with an existing service panel. There are other products that we're working with at Franklin to enable this open ecosystem concept. But today we're highlighting our important partnership with ConnectDER and with Eaton. So the next slide here is going to be focused on the Islander product, and I'm going to hand the mic over to Conti.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us on the panel. My name is Conti with ConnectDER. We make meter socket adapters. We've been doing so for the last almost 14 years. And today we're talking about Islander, which is our latest, you might say, our capstone meter socket adapter, primarily targeting the battery storage resiliency industry. So we are putting the MID, or the whole house isolation switch, inside the meter socket adapter to avoid complex electrical rework, right? We'll talk about this more, but the primary problem we're trying to solve here is how can we make systems installs go faster, quicker, simpler. So by putting this behind the meter, we are doing just that for the installer. So other than avoiding complex work, we've focused similar to the Franklin approach in terms of quality. We've engineered reliability into this with a strong warranty. We've figured out how to pass a lot of current through a small form factor and manage heat without use of a fan, for example. We have current sensing, voltage sensing, all built into the unit that we send to the partner. We have broad socket compatibility, so we can work with multiple meter socket forms, ring type, ringless type, 2S, 12S meter forms. So again, the idea being that we're compatible with as many meter sockets in the market, starting in California, but across the country where we have existing product line penetration already. So in the end, it's a very simple device. I look forward to answering any questions about it. We're extremely excited to work with multiple battery partners in the spirit of the open ecosystem, Franklin being one of our key partners, and seeing how we can collectively simplify and streamline the installation process for storage behind the meter.
Thank you. Thank you, Conti. And this is Mitch. Let me get the next slide here. There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. As you mentioned, my name is Mitch Simmons. I'm the technical product manager for our AbleEdge line of offerings here. And today I'm going to be talking about our smart breaker. So you can kind of see on the back slide here, this is just one component of our AbleEdge ecosystem. I've also got one here in my hand. So you can see this is just a circuit breaker. And so, as part of that whole open ecosystem, we've designed this device to provide, that capability for partners like Franklin to be able to integrate in and provide load management control. Because that's really the next piece that really needs to happen for whole home backup for, a battery system. Because you need to be able to actually limit and control the amount of loads that are actually going to be on that battery for a couple of different reasons. One, make sure you're not overloading the inverter system. Secondly, if you want to extend your runtime, being able to turn off some of those high-powered loads. Now, what the breaker can actually do for you is it does provide that capability of full remote on-off capability. It also has built-in metering, and that way, the control system can actually, see how much load that particular device is actually pulling, and then be able to make intelligent decisions about whether to turn it off, turn it back on, things like that. And also, kind of what he was talking about with the open ecosystem is we have an API platform for this breaker. So yes, we do have our own app, but we also have APIs so that partners like Franklin and others can actually integrate this in and put it as part of their entire ecosystem. And that way, everything is all via a single app. So we've got plenty of these. I'm definitely looking forward to answering any questions that you may have regarding the AbleEdge smart breaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. And by the way, if anybody has any questions that are coming up for you, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. We want this to be as casual as possible. So I have a few questions that we're going to use to kind of frame our discussion here. And the first thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is just what does the system actually look like? So let me just go through this diagram that I have here on the screen. So the meter adapter controller, what we call the MAC, which is here on the screen, that's the EMS or the power control system. It's the brains of the operation, right? That controller usually lives inside of our A gate. We've pulled it out of the A gate and connected it to the ConnectDER MID Islander meter socket, which is behind the meter, and we've connected it to the Eaton AbleEdge smart breakers. So an installer will be able to use the Franklin app only to commission the entire system, test it, and go on to the next job, right? So if you're an installer and you're familiar with the whole home backup approach, here we are at Franklin emphasizing the strength in these partnerships, and I think that's it's a really important point of view and business strategy that I really want to highlight here is no one does meter socket adapters better than ConnectDER. They've got relationships with utilities. They've been working on this for years. And why would we want to manufacture our own meter socket adapter when we can partner with ConnectDER and we can have the kind of the best equipment out there in the field? Going to the other side on the load control, I mean, Eaton panel boards and Eaton as a company, it's the same thing. Now, what's unique about the Eaton load control integration is that if you're familiar with the Franklin smart circuits that are inside our A gate right now, there's three spaces, but really it's two 2-pole spaces in our smart circuits. We're essentially copying and pasting the functionality of our smart circuits in the A gate onto the Eaton breakers, right? And we're enhancing the performance with new features all the time as well, which I can talk a little bit about. So whole home backup using the existing panel board, connector, MID, meter socket, Islander, and enrolling in some load control really kind of opens up a reliable, predictable, programmable system for the homeowner. So the first question, I think I probably bled into the first question a lot in my in everything that I just said. But the value in having these partnerships is just that, is the industry leading partnerships that are enabling our open ecosystem. So did you have any thoughts about the value in the partnerships, Conti?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. Just like you don't want to make a meter socket adapter, you guys make an incredible battery, and so we want to stay in our swim lane and utilize the relationship so that we have the best quality product in each part of the system, as opposed to having okay products all across the entire system.
Thank you. Mitch?
Yeah, exactly what you said earlier, and exactly what Conti said. So, obviously, Eaton is a 100-plus-year-old company. We've been doing power management, making load centers and switchboards and things like that for years. But working with partners like Franklin with ConnectDER to be able to provide that whole home, because we're not making the batteries, we're not doing things like that, but we do value those partnerships. And that's why we're really focused on the things that we do well, which is around the circuit protection inside the load center. We have a lot of load centers out there that these can just retrofit into, and so it really is trying to make it a simple open ecosystem to make it as easy on the homeowners and the installers as possible.
Thanks. One thing that came to mind about our partnerships is how does it relate to safety certification? And I think that it's specifically our UL 3141 PCS certification now includes the Islander device. It includes the Mac device. So we're rolling in these components as critical components into our certification system, into our UL 3141 certification. So you get it all kind of under the Franklin certification. It's an important detail because we don't want to have installers having to deal with separate documents and separate reports from each of us. Plus, our system acts as one system, so it should be certified as a power control system, which it is. All right, so the next topic is digging a little bit deeper into the advantages of each of our systems to the installer. I spoke a little bit about the necessity for costs to go down in 2026 post OBBB, and one ginormous way to reduce costs on residential storage is by integrating whole home backup into an existing panel board. And then if you add like the aPower S, this 14-foot battery right here, which has the ability to take DC direct input into its hybrid inverter, you're reducing the inverter costs as well. So you start to tick off cost reductions and efficiencies in the field. So I wanted to ask Conti to talk a little bit about the advantage of the meter socket adapter, the Islander, to installers.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it becomes it becomes how do we do it in a way that is as standardized and as quick and as simple as possible for installers. We know that there are many ways to isolate the house. We also know that there are many obstacles to landing CTs, to putting in an MID device, especially in a meter main combination panel. It's difficult or impossible at best, and so you end up doing quite a bit of electrical work, right? Moving the circuit relocation, or the Hawaiian tie-in method has become so prevalent. So this is something that adds, half a day to a few days of highly qualified labor, and adds project cost and time delays to projects. So it's counter to the goal here. So what Islander does is it basically mitigates the need for any of this work, where we don't care what's in the service panel. We don't care if you have breaker space. We don't care if you need hold down kits for battery outputs. Um, we don't care if you're recessed into a plaster wall. Um, we're bypassing that completely. So by putting the MID behind the meter, we can bypass the need to do all that complex work. So your jobs are going quicker, faster, and it's something that the installers can get used to doing and standardizing and not having to figure out custom interconnection and isolation strategies for every single job. And that's really what we're doing in a nutshell is standardizing it, right? Installers are used to standardizing on what solar equipment they use, what inverters you use, what battery you use, what racking you use. But interconnection and isolation has always been this kind of custom, who do we have that can go out and assess how we're going to integrate, isolate at the house? And Islander allows you to standardize that approach and do it in a way where we don't have to worry about the gotchas behind the meter.
Not to mention those integrated CTs, right? So no wrestling with hard busing versus double 200 amp breakers and combining CTs around conductors. You get your whole home metering right there at the point of common coupling. Mitch, how does Eaton AbleEdge, why should installers be interested in Eaton? What's the advantages there?
Yeah. So with our AbleEdge smart breaker, and it's very similar to what Conti was saying, there's many different ways of actually getting load control, getting metering, things like that inside of a home panel. The approach we've taken is we combine everything into the circuit breaker form factor. And so with a lot of installers, they're used to working with a circuit breaker. And so for them, they can take out an existing circuit breaker, replace it with this one. They're not having to relocate the loads or do anything like that. With the integration with Franklin, the commissioning is very straightforward because everything is done within the Franklin app. And so for the installers, this is the one single device. They're not having to worry about multiple devices. You mentioned before about needing separate CTs. The CTs and the metering are built into the breaker itself. The relays are built into the breaker itself. It still provides circuit breaker functionality for safety and overload protection, things like that. But it does provide that extra functionality that a whole home backup system needs when you're needing to actually monitor what the different loads are doing, being able to turn loads on and off based on the control algorithm to make sure that you're not exceeding either the utility rating or potentially the battery rating. And so for that, these are things that most electricians and electrical contractors are used to dealing with, are the circuit breakers. So we just try to keep it very, very simple for them as well, so they're not having to do a bunch of relocation and things like that.
Let's go on to the next question, and we're going to pivot from the value to the installer to the value to the homeowner, right? So not only do we have these values to our installer customers, which is mostly the audience here, but your customers, the homeowners. And so what problems are we solving and what benefits are we providing to the homeowners? This time we're going to start with Mitch over here at Eaton.
So really when you think about the homeowner and what they're actually trying to deal with inside the house, so one of the things that we're really focused on is the retrofit capability. And so when you think about the open ecosystem that Chris is talking about here, a couple of things it's doing is helping minimize how many boxes we're getting installed on the wall. So with the ConnectDER solution, being able to provide the home islanding, with our smart breakers being able to retrofit into the existing panel system, for a homeowner, that's giving them great value because they're not having to worry about getting a brand new panel to support everything that they're trying to do. The breaker itself can provide all kinds of insights into what's actually happening inside their home, such as they can monitor, like Chris mentioned, the pool pump. They can see when it's cycling, things like that, and maybe they can get a little bit of an advance notice if they're watching it to say this should not be running right now. Why is it running? So there's all kinds of different features and things like that that can be done through the smart breaker itself. Being able to set scheduling for automatically turning things on and off, being able to remotely turn things on and off. So if you have, something that you actually do need to turn off, you forgot to turn something off when you left to go on vacation. That's something that you could actually do remotely through the breaker itself as well. So really between the retrofit capability and then giving the homeowner really the insights into what's actually happening inside of their home, we see that as a huge benefit for the homeowners.
How do homeowners solve problems with this? It sounds weird, but it's this hidden device that's behind the meter, but there really is benefit to homeowners too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the irony is that the homeowner may never fully understand what the breaker is or what the Islander is. What they will remember is if they could pencil out the job and how long it took and what their experience with the installer was. Right? So as much as I think an Islander meter socket adapter is the greatest thing and looks wonderful and everything, homeowner may never even realize it was part of the install because it's something that's part of the contractor's bill of materials for the install. The value really kind of trickles down to them via making the projects feasible and keeping costs lower. Right? If the homeowner needs an MPU or a service replacement because they cannot connect to a panel board full of breakers, if they cannot connect to it because there's no place to land CTs, all they hear from the installer is either no, we can't do it, or we're going to have to do some electrical work and move all your circuits, or we're going to work with the utility, which could take 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months to facilitate that scope of work to redo the service. So at the end of the day, what we're doing for the homeowner is we're making the jobs happen within their budget in a quicker time frame. That's really what we're doing. It's not a consumer product, right? This is not something the homeowner will interface. It's something that enables the install to be cost effective and to be done quicker and faster. And in today's market where, PTO is we need to get there faster, we need to tighten our belt on costs, this is something that installers can use in their repertoire to not have to rely on such a long lead time for electrical work, etc. The only other thing I would point out is that we're sending the telemetry to Franklin. So this is the whole house current, the voltage, temperature, a whole slew of information that's captured within the Islander meter socket adapter, and allowing the Franklin ecosystem to share that with the homeowner as needed.
Thanks, Conti. I wanted to take a minute to round out a couple of the other components involved on the Franklin side here, because we've been really focused in this discussion on kind of why does it only happen to me? We've been focused on the kind of the most efficient use case here, which would be a single battery, 4 Eaton breakers, an Islander, and an aPower S. Right, where you have direct solar connection to our hybrid inverter, and so you're avoiding a solar inverter, and you're coming right down here. And so we're talking about basically the 3 components on the left-hand side of this slide: whole home backup. But then, if you're familiar with the Franklin ecosystem, the open ecosystem, you're thinking, well, what if my homeowner wants a generator? And so we have this box over here on the wall to my right, to your left, is called the A-Hub. And you can pair the A-Hub in this system configuration, and that enables more space for PV breakers, additional smart circuits. So even we can enable up to 8 smart circuits if we do 4 Eaton in the main panel and then 4 in the A-Hub, or a generator integration. So really just providing choice and compatibility across a platform. Everything's part of our certification, and I think that that's it. We've covered a discussion about our partnerships, about our benefits to the installers, to the homeowner. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Is there anyone that has questions in the audience that wants to ask anything? Yes, sir.
So what panels do you take?
The question is what panels are going to be compatible with the AbleEdge?
Yeah, so this circuit breaker is a 1 inch per pole. And so for the Eaton panels, it's going to be our standard BR style load center and the combination meter breaker style.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Well, thanks so much for coming.